Welcome to the first episode of the Vilest Rag, a new podcast created by the Ubyssey, UBC's student newspaper. I'm Elena Massing. I'm the features editor here at the newspaper and the host of this podcast. So, the Ubyssey has been UBC's trusted source for news since around 1918, but we haven't had a regular podcast for a while now. So, what's the deal with that? This year, we're getting behind the mic and giving you another way to keep up with all things happening on campus or somehow related to UBC students and faculty. I'll be having conversations with reporters and editors and other members of the Ubyssey's team to learn a bit more about what it takes to keep a newspaper running. So each episode, we're going to talk about some of the articles we published in the past week and some things that might be worth taking a look at. So in news this week, senior staff reporter Sophia Samilski wrote about the AMS's open letter to BC Labour Minister Jennifer Whiteside, urging the government to recognize graduate research assistants as workers under BC's labour laws. And this article had a photo taken by Saumya Kamra. This was a busy week for the arts and culture section. We've got a review of Musqueam elder and UBC adjunct professor Larry Grant's new memoir titled Reconciling, which was written by yours truly and has an illustration by Ayla Cilliers. Arts and culture editor Julian Coyle-Forst reviews the recent on-campus production of the play Women of the Fur Trade, and senior staff reporter Natalie Vakuin stopped by the 35th Persistence of Vision Film Festival, which featured work by students in UBC's film production program. Then in sports and recreation, senior staff reporter Annalise Gumbach recaps the UBC men's football team's unfortunate loss to the University of Alberta Golden Bears, which puts them at a disadvantage in this season's crowded playoff race. In research, senior staff reporter Sophia Russo talks to UBC alumni about how they navigated their education while living with inflammatory bowel disease, or IBD. And you can read all of these pieces and more at our website, ubyssey.ca, which is updated daily. As for the future of the Vilest Rag, for the next couple of months or so, I'm going to be chatting with each member of our editorial board about the work they do at the newspaper and how they ended up working in journalism in the first place. And over the years, we've sort of noticed that a lot of our readers don't exactly understand how the Ubyssey operates and what exactly we do here, which is totally fair. But it's important to all of us at the publication to try and be a bit more clear about what exactly people can expect from us. And our team is full of people who lead interesting lives outside of the newspaper as well, so don't worry, we won't just be talking about reporting. This week, I spoke with Aisha Chaudhry, who is our editor-in-chief, about managing a newsroom, about the best documentary of all time, and also the trials and tribulations of making a vegetarian lasagna from scratch. That conversation is coming up next, and you can stay tuned after that to learn about the history of this podcast name, explained by columnist Quyen Schroeder. So that's all from me for now, and we'll be back again after a short break. Aisha Chaudhry is the Ubyssey's editor-in-chief, meaning she oversees all of the content editors that sit on the Ubyssey's editorial board. And she's joining me today to talk about what she does to keep the newsroom running smoothly and to reflect on all the experiences that got her to this position. So thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. And as I'm starting with everyone in this series, before we sort of get into your work at the Ubyssey, let's start with a bit about who you are outside of it. So what are you studying and how long have you been at UBC?
I'm in my 5th and final year. I'm studying English Lit, and I'm also in the honors program, so I have to figure out a thesis for this year. I think I'm going to write about science fiction. I'm going to try to apply to grad school. I'm from Surrey, so I grew up in the Lower Mainland. And yeah, that's me.
Why science fiction?
I don't know. I just tend to like science fiction and Gothic literature, like Dracula. And I had a science fiction class, and we read Frankenstein. and I quite enjoyed it. And I want to look at Frankenstein and this other book called In the Dream House that has like science fiction elements. And my prof was really nice, and he agreed to be my supervisor. So I was like, dubs, let's do it.
Cool. Is this why you've got this little Halloween themed thing next to you? For everyone listening, there's an owl stuffed animal wearing a witch hat sitting on the arm of Aisha's chair. Who is this?
This is a jelly cat. What is it? It's Hecate Hoot Nightly.
Whoa.
It brings me a lot of joy and comfort during trying times in the office. And I also love Halloween. I'm a big Tim Burton guy, not to be basic, but I love The Nightmare Before Christmas.
And God knows there will be trying times in the office.
True.
And on that, you're the editor-in-chief here at the newspaper.
Mm-hmm.
So what does that mean? What do you usually do in a day?
I do a lot of, honestly, different things. Unlike section editors who have one specific section and staff that work for them doing like various reporting on similar topics. I sort of oversee all that. I like check in with the editors, do performance reviews to make sure everyone's doing their job and that they're doing okay. I deal with the administration, like like with our business office, making sure people are paid, that the budget's okay. I sweep the office, hygienes. I like set up our weekly content meetings. A lot of administrative stuff, to be honest. And I was told by former editor-in-chiefs that if it's no one else's job, it's your job. And I think that rings true. And I also do a lot of work with the other managing editor named Saumya. We love her, which is nice. Yeah, so me and her.
And I'm sure the sweeping is really the glue that holds the office together.
Sweeping, washing the dishes. There's a lot of dust.
Mm-hmm.
The building was built in 2016, but you'd be shocked by how old this office feels at times.
Yeah, I mean, we are making some changes around the office. Mm-hmm. There were some junk removal people in here.
Yes, we had this like big old desk at the back of the office that you couldn't sit at because it was too high, but it also was a bad storage space. So we called up some junk removers and had that.
Big things.
Yeah,
big things
there was
coming.
like they came in with like a sledgehammer, and I was like, oh my god. But yeah, something that me and Saumya figured out, which is like not something in the job description, but you just end up doing it because it's an office renovation.
Mm-hmm. And what brought you to the Ubyssey, and what were you doing here before you were editor-in-chief? I
actually started writing for the paper in my first year, my first week, which was perhaps too quick, but here I am. But I was really interested in the news section. I don't know why, but I quite like governance. I don't know, it's kind of nerdy when I tell people, but I like seeing how those governing institutions like work on campus and how they really like control and influence what is happening and how they can help positively or negatively it like affects students. So I was just like a news reporter, and then in my third year I became news editor, which I was also last year, and then this year I am editor-in-chief. Yeah.
Did you have much journalism or writing experience before you got here, coming to university?
Not really. My high school didn't have a high school newspaper, unfortunately, and I wanted to study English, so I was always writing essays. So that's a very different type of writing, especially for news reporting specifically. So I just got all my training from my news editors and just really trying to focus on the edits and read a lot of publications and just other newspapers, but also our newspaper. And I quite like documentaries in high school, so I feel like I was watching a lot of Vice, a lot of Vox, which is obviously a different type of reporting, video reporting, but that is kind of, I guess, my first introduction with journalism was more through documentaries than written articles.
Do you have a favorite documentary? I know there's an answer to this question because we've seen it many, many times.
Oh my god. Okay, I think the best piece of journalism ever created was the Fyre Festival documentary on Netflix about the Fyre Festival, which was this botched music festival, and It's so interesting. Like, it is genuinely so interesting and also funny because it's kind of about a bunch of rich people who got screwed over. No one was hurt or anything, thankfully. So that's why it's amusing, but it's also like genuinely interesting because this guy basically ran this huge scam and people sent him millions of dollars.
Did you hear how they were trying to like bring it back again recently? Like he was trying to do like a new Fyre festival. I don't know what actually happened or if that's true. So
I heard that too.
Maybe I shouldn't be spreading misinformation.
Yeah, but I made multiple people on editorial watch it. I made you watch it. Did you like it?
I love it. It's so good, actually. I had low expectations, honestly, but it was really good.
I can recommend a movie / documentary. Thank you very much.
Yeah. And back to the job. Why did you decide to take on a management position and sort of move away from content editing?
Honestly, I don't know if I have a solid answer. I remember when I became news editor, I was like, okay, I'm going to do news editor for 2 years and then I want to be EIC. I don't know. I just sort of gave myself that game plan. But also I think I realized that after 2 years, most people are only editor for a section for 1 to 2 years. And I think I realized that after 2 years at news, I would have like served all I could to that section and that it was time for me to like step away and to let like the new generation like take over, if you will. But I wasn't like done with the Ubyssey and I still wanted to be part of it, and because I had spent like 4 years here, I felt like I really knew the paper quite well, not just like how to help people like new editors, because we had quite a few new editors this year like get used to the like the beat of the job, but also like there's a lot of things that I was like, this could be made better, and these changes can only be done in like a management position because I'm not running a section, I'm running the whole paper.
Is there anything that you're really hoping to accomplish by the time your term ends?
I hope things run smoother for future years. We have been making a lot of big changes. Like we were just talking about the office renovations because we want to put like more desks in, so there's more space for just like staff reporters to come and work. We've changed how people join the program. We now have like an entry-level program for people to come in. Everyone is now going to receive training. So there's probably more things I'm not even thinking of. So there's just a lot of changes and new things happening, which feel kind of overwhelming, or like there's hiccups in them because we're doing them for the first time. But I hope by the end of it, whoever is taking over after me, after all of us, has an easier time, and that the issues I faced while here, if not completely gone, are more mitigated. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And sort of on the subject of changes, by the time people are listening to this, Ubyssey Reloaded. Oh my god. No one can say Ubyssey, and not even me. But Ubyssey Reloaded will have come out. So maybe you could tell me what that is.
Yes, that is basically our big strategic report that Spencer, who is the opinion editor, but also deputy managing editor, which is another management position this year, drafted, and and me and Saumya worked on with him in conversation with like all the editors this year, that outlines basically all the problems we have at the office and at the Ubyssey, whether that's like how we train people, how we present our website, our print, knowledge gaps, and basically identifying those things, but then also outlining how are we going to fix this. Like we're going to do a review of the website, of our print issues. We're going to implement training, which we've already started. We have the new contributing journalism program, which is our entry-level program, also called CJP. So yeah, there's a lot of things in the works, and this report was made over the summer. So some of the things in the report, and by the time people are listening to this, like are already in motion. So that is sort of what it is. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, in making these changes and in doing the training that we've started to implement, at least like a formal training program, I feel like I've realized, at least in my work, a lot of people seem to have misconceptions about what exactly journalism is and the kind of stuff that we do here. Like, what kind of false understandings do you think readers or potential writers seem to have that you have encountered or continue to encounter a lot?
I think the biggest misconception about us is that we are the climbing wall. For context, the climbing wall is right before our office, so like at least once or twice a week someone comes in and is like, is this the climbing wall? And we're like, no.
We did put up a sign though. We put up a sign at our front door saying that we are not the climbing wall, and it somehow hasn't changed anything. Yeah. Well, I think it's reduced it like significantly, but
yeah, it's not a big deal. But yeah, I think
it is to me.
Perhaps one misconception I'll touch on is sometimes I feel like people don't understand like the actual scope or reach of what we can do. In terms of like readers, I think sometimes people give us like leads or tips, which is like always appreciated and great. But sometimes it's very vague, and they don't, they can't share anything, or they can't put us in touch with anyone who's willing to like go on the record, and they're kind of expecting us to be able to like magically figure out what's going on or like procure a story. And it's like, if things aren't publicly available, if we can't use a freedom of information request to get them, if no one can speak to us, then unfortunately like there's nothing we can do. And I think people also forget we're students and we have like classes and we're trying to balance this full-time job and learning to be a reporter, because all the editors, like, we're still learning. We're student journalists, and that we're trying to balance all these things, and that sometimes things may be missed. We try really hard to make sure we report on everything and like things that are important to the community, but sometimes we may hit a dead end or we may miss something. And I think sometimes reporters don't realize that there has to be a bit of a Ubyssey connection to stories, because they like pick these like really big broad things, which can be like interesting, and like bigger news outlets may be like following up on it, and it's like, well, we can't necessarily be reporting on something happening on the other side of the world if there's no connection to us. So sort of like keeping our scope as like a hyper local newspaper as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like the management side of things has been going well for you, but do you miss writing or editing at all?
I think I still do a fair bit of editing because all the pieces go through copy edits, and I'm usually the one that picks up the most copy editing.
Okay, subtle flex.
Yeah, I'm
working
reading
harder than everyone else.
No, I'm kidding. But no, I feel like because editors are editing things, I should at least pick up copy editing if I can. But I think I do miss reporting a bit. The VP student life by-election has been happening, and I like came to the debate with Stephen, our news editor, and I was like, wow, I kind of miss this stuff. Like, I think when I was news editor, I was like, I'm so tired of this, especially during the big general election. But I think I quite like governance and like on the field reporting, and sometimes being in those places where like your adrenaline is running because you're like, what are they going to say? What's happening is a lot of fun. And the reason I like really fell in love with like reporting was finding out the tea and figuring out what's going on. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a favorite piece you've ever written?
Well, obviously most of the pieces I've done is for news, but I've been lucky to be able to write for several other sections as well. I've written some very silly, perhaps unfunny pieces for humor about weddings that happen on campus, because they happen all the time, and I'm just like, if you love UBC, that's great, but I don't think like having your wedding here is like, I don't know, not for me personally. I'll just say that. I've written a lot for culture. When you were culture editor, actually, arts and culture. Like I got to review Camp Gone Away, which was at the Fringe Festival last year, which was a lot of fun, and I got to like watch a show, which was great because I don't often see performances. In terms of news, I think, like, I guess this is kind of the obvious answer, but like I stand behind my reporting. Like, I think the investigation, myself and Vian, the news editor last year with me, we were co-news editors, did about looking into the termination of the previous VP AUA and sort of like the workplace culture at the AMS was perhaps the piece that like I am most proud of.
Mm-hmm.
What is your next question? Is it what's my least favorite piece?
Sure. You can tell me your least favorite piece.
No, I was just going to say, I thought you were going to ask me both, because that the investigation was my most and least favorite piece, because I'm like, I stand behind it, but also it brought me so much mental anguish.
That's real.
Yeah.
It actually was my next question. But I don't know. I can't be that predictable.
That's fair. Yeah, no, it was that one. Actually, my favorite part of the sorry, I was putting my head back. My favorite part of the investigation is the visuals done by Ayla, who is our visuals editor this year. Their illustrations, I think they're fire. None of the reporting was any good. Just the visuals.
Trash. Terrible.
Terrible. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, kind of a pivot from there, but we've both been editors at the Ubyssey for almost 3 years.
Yeah.
At the end of this year, 3 years.
Yeah.
So we've seen a lot of things. We've experienced a lot of things. But do you have any favorite memories that stand out to you? I mean, work related or vaguely office related?
That's a key question.
Thanks, I try.
I feel like I couldn't even list how many moments just like in the office, like being with everyone here in the office, like just like joking around, whether that's like during office hours or
No,
like,
we're a very serious newspaper.
Silence. Yeah, I think a memory I had that was quite fun though was after during my first year as news editor, after results night on AMS selections night, like once all the results were done, we had published them, we had just like finished like 2 to 3 very intense weeks of like reporting, and like the whole team just like went out for like drinks, and that was a lot of fun just to be able to like celebrate that like huge thing that we like finished, but also just getting to know people. It was fun. I threw up at the end of the night. That's okay. We don't talk about that. I was fine. Yeah. Do you have a favorite memory?
Oh wow. I wasn't expecting.
Yeah, I can interview.
Whoa.
I can ask questions.
Okay. Oh, a recent memory, but I had a lot of fun on our editorial retreat, which is a little trip the editorial board does every year to a cabin
in the interior of BC.
Some
usually.
kind of cabin.
Yeah.
Kind of wildfire smoky, but otherwise a good experience. I love just taking the time to get to know people and play a lot of pool. I'm not very good at pool.
Yes.
A lot of very, very bad pool.
Yeah,
but fun.
It was a lot of fun, yeah. And how did you like the food?
The food? Oh my gosh. Aisha prepared a vegetarian menu for the entire weekend. And we had, what did we have? We had a stir fry. We had vegetarian lasagna.
Yeah.
We had
2 pastas.
2 pasta dishes.
Yeah. Oh, and minestrone soup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So many things, all from scratch, which is a little crazy.
Honestly.
But I think it was very appreciated.
I'm glad.
Yeah. It was more vegetables than I feel like I eat usually. Yeah. That was my first time making lasagna from scratch. And vegetarian lasagna, obviously I'd never done. We didn't have a food processor, so we kind of just cut everything up really small.
Dicing with dull knives.
It was like 11:30 by the time we were eating.
That's okay. I think I forgot. Everyone was like, why didn't you just like buy more like pre-made meals? And I was like, to be honest, I forgot that was an option. But it was okay.
You know what? Me too.
Everyone ate so well.
Frozen lasagna is like the frozen food. So
maybe because my dad makes lasagna from scratch. So growing up, not to flex.
Chef moment.
Yeah.
But
editor and chef.
This. Wait, that's really good. But okay, we're gonna end it off with a question that I am going to be asking all the editors on this series.
Okay.
But if you could be another editor, person or position for a day, who would it be and why?
Should I do both or just like pick one?
Pick one.
Okay, pick one. Honestly, I think I would like to be Ayla, our visuals editor, because I love her style. A, and B, she's like just very talented, and I used to like draw in high school. I was never very good, but I like enjoyed it. So I feel like if I could get back into it and have her talent, that would be so cool. I also feel like visuals journalism is so important and such like a specific skill that I don't really understand because obviously I don't do it. So being able to like understand that and like have that skill, I really respect. So I would switch with her if I could with anyone.
Mm-hmm. Good choice. Love Ayla.
Yeah, no, she's the best.
Thanks for taking the time to talk to me.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And that was Aisha Chaudhry, the Ubyssey's editor-in-chief. And you can join me next week to learn more about another member of our editorial board and more about student journalism at Ubyssey. And coming up in a few seconds, we'll be diving into a moment in Ubyssey's history with Quyen Schroeder.
Welcome to the inaugural segment of Since 1918, the archive section of the Vilest Rag. I'm Quyen Schroeder, and I'll be your host as we dive into the past of our university. I'm going to take a moment at the top to explain some of the motivations for this segment. Like a lot of people, I felt overwhelmed by the state of events on campus. I've been frustrated by how institutions treated each other and how it feels like students are unable to have their voices heard. In these moments, I find great solace in learning about those who came before. They weren't perfect, far from it, but they faced many of the same issues that we face today. Housing crises, the university losing funding, advocacy for human rights, and more. Reading about these people struggling with the same issues we face today makes me feel connected. It reminds me that everyone before us faced the same issues that are just as challenging, and they made it through. It gives me hope, and I hope that I'll be able to share some of that with you over the course of this series. I'd like to start with something you probably have a question about. What's up with the name of this podcast? Is the Ubyssey truly that self-disparaging? I can't answer on behalf of the entire organization, but at least for this podcast, the name wasn't chosen out of an ingrained self-loathing. Cast yourselves back to 1956. Ubyssey was a school of around 6,400 students. The Right Honourable Louis Stephen St. Laurent is Prime Minister of Canada, and Marilyn Monroe just got married. That year, the editorial committee of the Canadian University Press produced a ranked freedom list of university newspapers, representing how independent the editors at each of those papers were from university administration and student councils. In the Ubyssey's case, that would be UBC and AMS respectively. While now the Ubyssey is an independent society, back then the Ubyssey was run directly by the AMS. We became independent in 1995. That is a story for another day. The Ubyssey ranked number 1 in editorial freedom. However, not everyone can rank number 1. Windsor Assumption College's paper, The Purple and White, was ranked 19th out of 21. Reverend E.C. Papert, the Purple and White's faculty moderator, was broadly unhappy with his paper's ranking. Not with the fact that the Purple and White was considered censored. He was glad his paper was at the bottom. Censorship was his job. He had prior review and approval of every article before publication, which is largely considered a violation of journalistic ethics and independence. His ire, however, was directed at the Ubyssey. He considered the Ubyssey to be the vilest rag you can imagine and the best argument for censorship that could be produced. Papert considered the Ubyssey to be, quote, the vilest rag you can imagine and the best argument for censorship that could be produced, unquote. And he also decried the Canadian University Press's, quote, rather radical tendency to have these papers free from what they call faculty domination, unquote. I haven't been able to find any further specifics of what Papert deemed to be the Ubyssey's failings, but, you know, maybe newspapers shouldn't be directly controlled by the organizations they cover. In the months and years to come, the Ubyssey adopted the vilest rag west of Blanca as a motto, with editorials, letters, and image captions affectionately referring to the Ubyssey as a vile rag. And now, it's a podcast. So hopefully now you are slightly less confused about the podcast's name. If nothing else, you've now got a new phrase to bust out when talking about your favorite hyperlocal community paper.
In today's episode of the Vilest Rag, you heard from Aisha Chaudhry, the Ubyssey's editor-in-chief, and columnist Quyen Schroeder. The podcast is written and hosted by myself, Elena Massing, the Ubyssey's features editor. It was filmed and edited by Saumya Kamra, with music by Aisha Chaudhry and graphics designed by Ayla Cilliers. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next week.